Why do young men feel lost? Well, their past's been stolen from them. What does that mean? They're told, particularly if they're Western white men, they've been told, you're bad. Your past is bad, or actually even, you don't exist. You don't exist and you're bad. It's like a Schrodinger's culture. Am I saying that right? It sounds rude when I say it. So the idea here is the culture that they come from, i.e. Western civilization, on the one hand doesn't exist, and on the other hand is bad. So their culture's been stripped from them, traditions have been stripped from them, the link to the past, and that is one of the main things that keeps us sane. Or else we're just here floating in the moment, going, where the hell do I come from? Who exactly am I? That is a critical anchor. Okay, their present has been ripped from them. What does that mean? We're not present anymore. We're not mindful. Our attention has been absolutely smashed by the technology. We're no longer able to be here in the present moment. You're probably doing 3 other things while watching this video. This smashing of the gateway of attention is an act of extreme evil. It isn't just a minor thing. Not having a present, literally in that sense. The Buddhists will say we're getting enlightened in the present. You have to be present to make relationships with other people. The present moment, all spiritual traditions agree, is where it's at. Okay, what about their future? Well, people today don't have a sense of hope for the future. Young men aren't given a vision for what a good future looks like. No one believes in progress anymore, right? No one really believes that we're heading towards some kind of Star Trek utopia. Things aren't getting better. No one believes they are. And just in very practical terms, for young men to have a family, to buy a home, very practical things that American dream, the British dream, just that very simple, to have a job, to have a family, to have a partner, to have a nice life, to retire, to be looked after by the NHS maybe, or your family in your old age, that's gone now. So given the past, the future, and the present are all gone, of course people feel lost. We might say that applies to everyone, but why young men in particular? Well, the culture hates men. It particularly hates young men that are seen as competition for the state, for protection and provision, that are a risk to the monopoly of violence that the state has. It's always been young men who have been the biggest risk, the biggest threat to any system, because a small number of spiritually motivated, virile and capable young men is all it takes to bring the whole fucking thing down. Young men are particularly not compliant. So men are replaced with women who are more compliant, are replaced with foreigners who do not have the same links to the country, the same investments, or are more compliant. They literally unionize less. There was one study by Whole Foods that said that, for example, if you want to kind of leftist point of view here. And ultimately, the labor of men will be replaced with machines. That's where this nightmarish tech dystopia, neo-feudalism we're heading towards seems to be going, unless we do something about it. All right, there's another way of looking at this. 4 disconnections. This is really the heart of this channel. This is a good video to watch early days as the channel launches. 4 main disconnections. So people feel lost because they're not connected to this and not connected to their bodies, not connected to their bodies. What can you do about that? Something positive. Connect your body. Yeah, move your body, feel your body, go to the gym, do martial arts, swim in the sea. If you're lucky enough to live somewhere like this, you're probably not. I'm sorry. If you're in Swindon or like Dagenham or something watching this, I'm sorry, mate. So reconnect your body, because we've had that basic disconnection. That's an anchor of sanity, embodiment. I've given my life to. This field of study is probably one of the few things that I know about, really. And it keeps us sane. Over tech use, being in our heads all the time, being on YouTube all the time. That's what leads to disembodiment. Okay, next one, community. So we've been ripped out from our sense of community, our sense of tribe, our sense of belonging in a normal, healthy nation state. And the nation is a very normal thing, even though it might have been sort of in its modern form invented in the 19th century, it is way older than that. Yeah, the idea of a group of people who are an extended family, that no longer exists in the West. You do not get given that. Now, you can go places to try and get it elsewhere, but then you've got the integration issue. So there's no utopia here in Croatia or Poland or somewhere like that if you want to try that. I think a better solution is to try and build it where you are. Okay, so you need to build it on a small scale by building connections, by building networks. This takes work. Everyone wants the benefits that community brings. No one's willing to do the fucking work, and it is work. What I would say though is start small scale. Start by building a group of male friends you can trust, you can rely on. Find mentors if you can. Seagulls. Find a faith institution if one still exists. I know it's difficult with the state of the Anglican Church in the UK, but you might be able to find one that still operates in some way spiritually. Third big reconnection is with spirit. You do need to reconnect to spirit, preferably in one of the traditions, but in whatever form you can. Whether you inherit it, import it, invent it. I mean, there's problems with all of these. I'd say that trying to invent your own spiritual tradition often leads to narcissism. Importing it, I tried to become Buddhist for years, for example. For some people, that's necessary if there's too much pain and trauma associated with Christianity, for example, or paganism. Um, but I think, if for most of us, you end up sticking feathers up your ass and pretending to be a chicken or maybe a seagull, given the noise in the background. What does that leave? It leads inheritance. It means we have to get past our pain around that. We have to find a way to connect to the traditions of our ancestors. Christianity and paganism are the two big ones which are offered really if you're from the West. I think they both have advantages, though my personal preference is Christianity. The last reconnection, young men are feeling lost because they're not connected to the land. I'm abroad right now. When I'm abroad, I feel like it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, it's lovely. It's a beautiful place I'm at, but I'm not from here. Yeah, I'm not. My ancestors haven't been in that fishing in that sea like they were in the seas around the UK and Ireland. My ancestors haven't been buried in this earth. Like I'm deracinated. I'm uprooted. So reconnecting to the land is a key thing. If that sounds like some kind of hippie nonsense, it might be as simple as doing a bit of gardening. Crazy spiritual British practice. It might be something as simple as walking in the Cotswolds or the Lake District, the New Forest, wild camping, as Josh Fern would say. It might be simple practices like that. It doesn't have to be, barefoot walking in some hippie ceremony, though it could be. Okay, so that's why young men are feeling lost. Present, past, and future have all been ripped from them. The four big disconnections. What do we do about it? Four reconnections. That is a certain amount of work. Yes, it is annoying that it's a certain amount of work, but it's not just giving us to a plate. It's also a massive opportunity. There is a war going on for the West. This is a spiritual war. We are involved in this spiritual war. This spiritual war goes right down. Not saying anyone should do any violence. Keir, if you're out there, don't lock me up. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. It's a spiritual war that goes right down the human mind, the human heart, the human soul. That is the war we're involved in. That is the task of our times. We don't have a Great Depression. Or sound like Fight Club now, don't we? We didn't have a Great Depression. We didn't have a... Does it say that? All right. I think I had too much coffee today, but you get the point. There's an opportunity there as well as a threat. So that's why young men are feeling lost, and that's what to do about it.